Have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President,
do you have any hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the
Mr. President,
leader.
is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing. And the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Mr. President, the U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the U.S.
Well, I don't want to get
at war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
Mr. President, can you explain? You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
No, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go ahead.
You, Mr.
Unless
President.
it's a bad question, in which case I'll go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin? Well,
okay.
That's always nice
You had
to
a phone,
talk about Putin.
You had a phone call with him on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
Was that intelligence?
I thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
So that is the United States President Donald Trump, flanked by his Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and the Foreign Secretary or the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and General Dan Kane, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Just to recap on what the president said, some of the big statements that the president has made. He says, we are going to run the country with a group until a judicious transition. We are designating various people. We are talking to the vice president. We are going to make the people of Venezuela very rich and safe. Large, busy or business oil companies will go into Venezuela. Maduro and his wife have been indicted of serious crimes, and they will face the full might of the U.S. justice. He calls the president illegitimate dictator responsible for drugs entering the United States. Let's just continue recapping what the president said, and joining us now is Susan Teherani. She's our correspondent in New York. Susan Teherani, quite a statement, quite a day, both for the United States and for Venezuela. I'm pretty sure some of the reactions are still coming in from the United States. Maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, made very clear about the kind of operation this was, being an extradition operation, basically drawing a comparison with anyone that is illegitimately targeting the United States as part of a national security and law enforcement rubric, that the United States under constitutional law has the authority, because this individual has been indicted, in this case Maduro, and also a judge has ordered for criminal charges, official criminal charges here in New York, to be against him. And that was the reason why the United States went in and arrested Maduro. I thought it was very interesting that President Trump himself and his administration noted that they actually gave Maduro an off-ramp many times, and President Trump directly spoke with Maduro more than one time, offering him an off-ramp, but Maduro decided to stay, and now this is his fate. Very similar to, I'm sure a lot of our viewers will remember or have read about, Manuel Noriega, who was arrested by the United States under the same charges. He was the de facto Panama leader back in 1989. He was brought to the United States, arrested, and then he was convicted. He was in U.S. prison. His conviction was 40 years. He got released, got extradited to France for money laundering charges, and eventually sent back to Panama, where he, continued to be in prison. But I think the headline grabbing incident regarding not only this attack, but the president's press conference will be that the United States will be involved in Venezuela moving forward. Not only oil companies, but also President Trump said that he's not afraid of boots on the ground. This is very, very telling of what kind of role the United States will play in Venezuela. He said that a group is going to control Venezuela. He also said that he doesn't believe that the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, the Venezuelan opposition, the lady is popular enough in Venezuela to lead Venezuela, and he said that he's thinking of other people. As we're speaking right now, Venezuela's vice president has been sworn in as the country's president, but Venezuelans here in the United States, and notably Latin Americans who had to leave Venezuela, are celebrating. They think this is the dawn of the new day. However, there is a lot of cautious optimism because of the manner this attack was carried out, and just because of the history of U.S. involvement in other countries and how those countries often are left with a power vacuum, and how it takes a very long time if it does ultimately become reconstructed and becomes this prosperous image that President Trump and other U.S. presidents prior to him have sort of offered and presented to the world and the American people.
Also, a headline grabber from the president. He says that we are going to designate various people. We are already speaking to some people in Venezuela who will take charge of the country, and that goes along with what he's also said, that a group of individuals is going to run the country, basically saying that America is now going to run Venezuela. Susan Teherani, thank you.